He throws the kitchen sink at you. We saw that with respect to Jeb Bush in 2016. We saw that this last cycle early on with respect to Ron DeSantis. And Nikki Haley's just the next target. I mean, President Trump competes to win.
And that doesn't lose him votes?
No, not here. I mean, our politics where it is today is very partisan. It has a nasty tone to it.
Donald Trump has won the Republican primary in New Hampshire. During a long victory speech, he called Nikki Haley an imposter. And his fans shouted bird brain at her. He also told Nikki Haley the Democrats would come after her.
And just a little note to Nikki. She's not going to win. She's not going to win. But if she did, she would be under investigation by those people in 15 minutes. And I could tell you 5 reasons why already. Not big reasons, a little stuff that she doesn't want to talk about, but she will be under investigation within minutes. And so would Ron have been, but he decided to get out. He decided to get out. Now, Vivek, I don't think would be at all because he's perfect, right?
It's a bit like a stand-up routine,
he's
actually.
So camp, isn't he? He's Donald Camp, Donald J. Camp.
I just feel he should be on at the Comedy Store with his delivery. Anyway, Bryan Lanza was communications director to Donald Trump's presidential transition.
It's unprecedented. You usually have a formula of somebody winning Iowa, winning South Carolina, or winning New Hampshire, winning South Carolina, but never the combination of Iowa, New Hampshire. And it looks like he's on his march to South Carolina. The Trump train is full steam ahead.
And can you explain why? I mean, I know that you are a Trump man, you're a Republican strategist, you're a former communications advisor to Trump. But the thing is, the Trump supporters we speak to, everyone has a different kind of rationale as to why this is happening this time. So what's your take?
I think the Republicans voters just want a rematch of 2020. As much as we see the polls that say they don't want this, the votes, show differently. It's hard to deny that the partisan votes on both sides of the party are pushing for this rematch.
What about Nikki Haley? I mean, I understand that things can get a bit personal when there's a lot at stake. Trump calling Haley an imposter and a loser, is that just his kind of playbook?
He throws the kitchen sink at you. We saw that with respect to Jeb Bush in 2016. We saw that this last cycle early on with respect to Ron DeSantis. And Nikki Haley's just the next target. I mean, President Trump competes to win.
And that doesn't lose him votes?
No, not here. I mean, our politics where it is today is very partisan. It has a nasty tone to it. And it's being validated by the votes.
Do you feel comfortable at all times with the nastiness?
No, God, no. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter and a 5.5-year-old son. It's very difficult to explain to them what they hear, and you try to shelter what they hear, but they still hear things. So, I mean, it's when you look at the vision of how we see America, how we see the United States, I tend to point towards the positiveness, in my view, that far outweighs the negativeness.
What about Nikki Haley, though? I mean, she's still clinging on. She won't do a Ron DeSantis. She won't bow out yet. Is there any point, and could there be a place for her at all?
This race effectively ended tonight. I mean, I'm sure Nikki Haley's going through the several stages of denial. There's really no rational thought, legitimate thought, philosophical thought for her to carry on the race. I mean, she was thoroughly defeated. This race is over. Even Joe Biden has started selling paraphernalia with respect to Donald Trump being the nominee.
What did you think of her, though, as a candidate? Does she have anything to offer, do you think? I mean, she's a former ambassador.
She clearly overperformed in this primary. I think early on, nobody expected her to be in this position. Everybody expected Governor DeSantis out of Florida to be here. Unfortunate for her, the race did turn into a more nasty tone, and she's going to walk away likely politically damaged or into the political wilderness after this. Whereas at one point she had a bright future. Her race against Trump, especially the last month, has taken the shine off of that star.
We're 10 months out still, assuming that Trump then is the Republican nominee. What happens, do you think, when it comes to Joe Biden?
I think right now it's a jump ball. Listen, if the election were held today, Donald Trump would win the election. I think a lot of these states, with respect to the Electoral College, a lot of these states that went for Biden in 2020, start off, and not in the Biden column. You even have Michigan, that's a blue state, the Biden state, that's moving. Right there, that's enough for him to win, for President Trump to win in November. And a lot of the reason that this is happening, oddly enough, is the the military conflict with Hamas and Israel. A significant part of the Democratic base wants a ceasefire, and Joe Biden just has a much stronger, different position. So it's going to put a lot of pressure and most likely suppress Democratic enthusiasm, which leads to less turnout.
If we do end up, let's just say, with Trump winning in November and having a second term as president, you're a former communications advisor to Trump. If you were advising him in his second term, should it happen, would you suggest that he does things differently in terms of communications this time around? And do you think he would listen?
I think we're in this toxicity of our politics that not only extends to our politicians, but it also extends to our media. I think inherently you're going to see President Trump want to unify the country, but unfortunately we have media that just wants to continue to tear apart this country. And so I think we'll see more and more of these sort of fake news stories that we saw in the first Trump administration continue to happen because our politics and our media are aligned in tearing down these institutions that have mattered for so long, for so much.
But presumably, I mean, there'll be people who say, well, hang on a sec, it's because of, perhaps they would say, candidates like Trump that the media behaves in that way. I'm not saying it's the right way, but that the two are linked, that you can't have one without the other. Is that fair?
I mean, listen, they both feed off of each other. I mean, but you're asking me, is this politics good? How do we turn the page? You certainly need the media doing their part. I mean, there's documented facts, there's documented stories where they made up stories about President Trump that proved to be false a year later, 6 months later, but garnered a significant amount of media attention. Let me give you the best example that I can come up with. And I've had this, with various media interviews. Let's say you have a glass that's filled to the middle, just a regular drinking glass filled to the middle. Donald Trump says that glass is half empty. The media says that, oh no, that glass is half full and Donald Trump is lying. That's where our media is today. And that's corrosive, that's dangerous, and that's what makes the media, at least in the United States, the enemy of the people.
That was Bryan Lanza, former communications director to Donald Trump.